Otherwise, we'll be here at 7.
Family would be very, very family oriented.
Sharon.
So what are you doing? Texting me to Tokyo. Okay, so
What's your family name?
5A.
You get some grandmother, they make their own sauces.
this one,
That's this one's going to take in place of A.
Very nice.
A letter from Rome.
Family down there.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
for.
My wife,
this is just for convenience. The start of the meeting and it says, by the way, you are protected afterwards.
So
They're just saying,
Jack, you're early for your late.
I thought, I just got finished saying.
So,
You know, I found something to take the last half hour.
RV. Yeah. Oh, okay. The RV.
So now if I go to the standard.
the letter's just
It's
asking.
about 20 hours.
I
1 hour to take it down, but we did things along the way. I had just pushed it probably when I signed. But worked until the, I stayed on time 5 or 6:30.
We have
and this is
So now, so people are 0 more here.
And so, yeah, but also they still have to come after it's finalized. Even with this vote, they have to come in and sign. Not 11.
That's not, okay, go back. I do the agenda. The date is fine. I know that. Or in July.
You originally from around that or no?
Then he's gonna call for a yes vote, and he's gonna call for a no vote. And
7.
so here's the yes vote right now, 68.1%. Total voting votes are here, and exactly half the candidate vote, more than exactly half is what's required.
Dave, you can move up.
Come on, Dave. Somebody
Switch to Ford, he's not here.
changed?
Well, they just stick him in the finance office. It's always kind of well.
Because I deleted or I can change it to no.
Okay. All set?
The room, he said 0. And that's. Now it's back. But, this was just. We'll have each one for each 25 sheets in there.
And they accepted it. Yeah.
Are you gonna send the application to us with the spreadsheet?
Yeah, and then you can play with it, it's quite useful. Okay, so Ashland is here, Arlington is here, Belleville is here, Bolton is here, Roxborough is not here.
They can watch this. It's like they can never remember things. Okay.
Carlisle is here. Concord is here. Dover is here. Lincoln is here. Wheaton is here. Strozzi is here.
Okay. July.
It was this well.
Call to order the July meeting of the school committee for the Minuteman Regional High School. Are there any public comments? I see one here now. Sometimes in my class, when I teach my class, when I'm taking attendance, I say, will you please just raise your hand if you're not here so I can take the attendance? So this is quite easy. Right? And there actually is a chair's report today, and we're going to have a fun time talking about weighted voting and the procedures. And at your station is a document, which I will spend a few minutes going over on the chair's report. Weighted voting, procedure and practice. And if you open it up, there's 40 pages, or one page, describing the procedure that we are going to attempt tonight for the very first time anywhere. It's brand new, it is exciting. Drum roll. So I'm going to go over the steps so we can, listen to them and if necessary talk about them. And then we're going to take a few practice votes that will not count. I have some very important motions that will cover lots of stuff that we should be discussing that we normally do not, but we'll have a chance this evening. So let me go through the steps. Now, the purpose of developing this procedure, if you may recall, there were two procedures proposed at our last meeting, one of which would be much faster but would not result in the actual percentages being recorded. It would just indicate whether it was a successful motion or a failed motion. And another procedure which will record the actual percentage at the end. And vote was taken by the school committee to move forward with the procedure that would result in an actual percentage at the end. So what we've done is the officers got together and we worked with Carrie's spreadsheet program. And we kicked around how can we create a procedure that would result in the percentages being recorded and minimize the amount of time it takes to do a vote. So how much time it's going to actually extend meetings for, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that we want to record the exact percentages and have, be able to recreate it really quickly. This procedure is about as fast as we're going to be able to do. Of course, obviously, as time goes on, we become more familiar with it and go faster. So here's the procedure. So we have a spreadsheet program here, which will not normally be displayed, but is displayed today for your benefit. And Carrie has the ability to enter initially the people who are here and not here initially. And beyond that, there are a series of additional forms, one for each vote. And the votes have all the percentages there. And after she enters who's present and who's not present, that's propagated through the other votes. Now, she has the ability to change it in each individual sheet as people leave the meeting or leave the room and come back into it. Then, as we go through our votes, let me go through the procedure because there's a responsibility for the recorder, responsibility for the vote taker, and responsibility for the chair. So here's the procedure that the only thing I can guarantee is that we're going to change it because there are errors in it. So first, go through it step by step. The minutes recorder, which is at this time Elizabeth Rosen, will track the members present at each vote. Any school committee member in the room at the time of the vote will be counted as present. So that's our definition of present for school committee members in the room. If you're not in the room, you're not present for the vote. When a weighted vote is to occur, the chair will perform the standard procedure of asking for hands. In other words, we won't vary each method, we're going to ask for hands, with the assumption that usually most of the hands are in favor for most of the votes. So if I do in favor, opposed, abstain, we're going to count, as we always do, and the recorder will record, the number of votes in favor, the number opposed, and the number abstain. Now, the people who are opposed and abstain have to keep their hands up a little longer because the vote recorder will record the no votes and the abstentions in the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet assumes that everybody else who's not marked missing is affirmative. So all she has to do is mark the no's and the absence. And at the same time, the recorder is also going to know who specifically is voting no and who specifically has abstained. So there'll be a record in the minutes. So we know who's present. We know who the no's are because they're going to be recorded by name or by count. And we know who the abstentions are, so solely from the record that's in the minutes, we can recreate the entire vote. We have currently 3 members who have seen and gotten some training in the spreadsheets. It's not just going to be Carrie. Jennifer and David as well. And, well, as long as I'm the chair, which could only be for another 2 hours. Okay. With that. So during the vote, the chair will also announce the number in favor, opposed, abstaining, as always done. At the end of the vote recorder shall announce the final percentages, and if you recall, an abstention for practical purposes is a no vote. Will announce the final percentages in favor, opposed, abstain, and these will also be recorded in the minutes. The vote recorder will also save the spreadsheet of each vote. Okay? At the officers' meeting, the chair expressed his concern about the validity of the reliability of technology. So we will have the saved spreadsheet, but technology can do funny things. We won't need it in the sense that we will also have the vote from the recorder. When practical and appropriate, even though we may not show the spreadsheet as the vote is going on, we'll flash the result at the end of the vote, at least at the beginning of what we're doing so we can see it on the screen. At the end of the vote, the chair will announce, I don't know if this will be necessary or not, we'll see if the motion is passed or not. The recorder shall put into the minutes the final percentage results of the vote and the final status of the vote, passed or not. That'll be the procedure now. A few notes. We have all the patient people here, so I don't really have to say this. The membership is asked to be patient as it may take several meetings to work the kinks out of this good process. And I believe that we even specified in our vote that we're going to do this for 2 months before we rethink the procedure if necessary. Those voting opposed or abstained have to keep their hands up long enough. Somehow the vote recorded will indicate when you're ready to go. In order to be counted as present, a member must be in the room at the start of the vote. So if you come in the middle of the vote, I don't think I can record you. I think you have to be, you weren't here. Because I don't want to have to change this in the middle and then bring them up to date.
Number 2, it says, school committee member in the room at the time of the vote, counted as present. And here it says, in order to be counted as present.
Yeah, so you see, I was doing more thinking as I got towards the end.
So which one is
I think this started with that for practice. And as I said, I think the voting procedure is secure. We have 3 ways of reconstructing the vote. We have this, we have the recorder, which is the most important, and we also have the camera if that happens to be working. Okay. Now, just one more thing occurred to me that I'd like to talk about briefly before we go to our experiment. The wordage in the new regional agreement talks about majority votes and a few special votes. It doesn't talk about other 2/3 votes. The language is not in there. Now, I'm talking most specifically about moving the question, which is 2/3 vote. Since the document does not mention a 2/3 vote, except for one specific one, I believe that we would just continue with our normal procedure that move the question is 2/3 of the quorum present at the meeting. Because it does not say that. So unless anybody can prove to me otherwise, it's not a weighted vote. It's a 2/3, unless somebody can show me something I've missed in the language, that vote is covered by the new regional agreement.
So, basically, they're saying procedural motions.
Well, it says, it talks about majority, so anything that requires a majority has to go through this process. But a 2/3 is a different kind of vote, and it specifically mentions 2, 3 special votes. So it does talk about votes other than majority, 3 special ones, but it does not talk about other procedural 2/3 votes. John?
Jeff, a comment and a question. I think the 3 that are cited as exceptions in the regional agreement were done explicitly and specifically because of the importance of the weight of those specific votes. It would seem to me that the rebuttable presumption is if we're using weighted voting, we use it for 2/3 or a majority. But from my perspective, if the only 2/3 vote, other than those listed in the regional agreement, is the call to question, it's almost not worth worrying about. But I do think when it says we're going to use weighted voting, it would seem to me that we would consistently use weighted voting for everything other than those called out specifically by the regional agreement. There's nothing in the regional agreement that says we're going to use weighted voting for simple majority, but not weighted voting for 2/3. So it seems to me the more logical assumption for that silence is that the majority, whether it's simple majority or 2/3 majority, is a weighted majority for everything but those 3 special votes.
Well, except for 2/3 isn't a majority.
Well, it's a super majority.
Right.
It's still a
It
majority.
doesn't specify here.
Well, it's a majority. It's a different kind
If
of
you want
majority.
to, I'll send it out to the lawyer, because we have to be legit.
Well, my concern, except for call to question, which I'm not troubled by, is those things that require a 2/3 majority are generally more important than those things that require a simple majority. And for us to abandon weighted voting on issues that are of more importance as reflected by a 2/3 vote seems to me to be counterintuitive to the spirit of the regional agreement.
Can you come up with an example of something for which a 2/3 vote is required?
That's why I asked.
Right, so I don't know of anything other than the ones that are mentioned, other than procedural, that require 2/3.
I'm okay if it's just procedural. If it's substantive, I think I'm troubled by abandoning weighted voting on substantive issues that might require a 2/3 majority.
As I said, I can only send it out to the lawyers.
So, can I clarify, Jack, are you saying that for procedural matters, you don't care to do a weighted vote?
No, what I'm saying is for a procedural matter like calling a question, I don't care if it's 2/3 of the people, sitting there. But if it's, I don't know, pick a number. If it's a policy issue, we can't approve the policy without a 2/3 vote, then it seems to me odd that if we've raised the hurdle by requiring a 2/3 vote, in that instance, we abandon weighted voting. That just seems to me counterintuitive
Well,
to the spirit of the
without
original.
taking a long time here, the thing that caught my attention is that in referring to weighted voting, especially, except in those special conditions it mentions, it refers only to a 50% specifically. So the only weighted vote in the main paragraph it refers to is if 50% of the weighted votes present. It says no language in here for times that are 2/3, except in one case in which they eliminate weighted voting altogether. So the 2/3, to incur that, 2/3 vote of all the members without regard for the weights. So the only case that they mention 2/3 is to specifically eliminate weighting voting in that case.
I pulled it out. The 2/3 in the regional agreement is debt. It's amending the regional agreement, which is 3/4, and what's the third one? Is it the budget?
Let's see,
The
the budget.
annual
The budget,
budget is
okay.
2/3.
'Cause that would be
All
one-
the members, not weighted.
Yeah, okay. So, okay.
So the only time it mentions 2/3 is to eliminate weighting voting.
I don't want to make it an issue of it now. If we come up with a substantive situation where 2/3 is required, other than procedural, I think we should revisit the discussion.
And I might send it to the lawyer together with the. Okay, so, but it just occurred to me, in case that comes up tonight, I have to somehow, seems like, do both right. Right, okay, so I did that, procedure for the president. Okay, the only other thing I want to mention is that you have your sheets with your little percentages, and many of them are really little percentages in front of you. And remember that these percentages, when we take our vote, it's 50% of the members present, not 50% of the total of all possible members present. So your 6.61% in this case may not actually have that proportional weight in terms of the vote. So having this percentage in front of you is a little bit not as valued as you may think, because the 6.61, whatever the number is, may be exactly 6.1 relative weight, or it may not be. It only will be when all 16 of us are here. I think I've hit that sufficiently. So would you like to make one of these two votes, please?
Okay, in that case, I should go to the test vote. Okay, well,
So the following
okay, so
is
this
a practice vote.
This is not for a practice one.
Not for prime time.
I'm going to call this P1 on my, okay, and nobody new has come or gone since we took the initial attendance, right? So, does anybody see anything wrong? All right, before remember he said that for the sake of efficiency in managing the spreadsheet, it defaults to a Y for yes, and I will enter the no's or abstentions. If I were to say, oops, Bolton just left the room, and I said no, you would see over in the right-hand column, the weight of his votes would go up. Somebody's here. I get to change.
But in reality, you wouldn't have.
So now I'm gonna say,
Haven't started the vote yet.
Haven't started the vote yet. Keyboard is different than my own, so forgive me if I seem like a little bit of a klutz. All right, since we took the initial attendance, Weston has arrived. So you're going to show up as absent when I show each one, but I have to go back and add you. Okay? So yes, you're here. And now with that many people and those particular people in the room, the total weighted votes in the room is 79.03%, and 39.52% is that's the 50% that a yes vote would have to be more than in a simple majority. And as I said, it assumes, just for efficiency's sake, a Y unless I change it to an N or an A for a no vote or extension. So,
Like take one of those 3
why
months.
doesn't he make the motion? Because I'm going to.
Any one of the 3 bills.
I move that the Chipmunks be declared the official pet of the Middleman School Committee.
Discussion.
You need a second.
We've got a second. So would you like to make an amending motion? Okay. Further discussion on the chipmunk being the official pet of the Middleman School. Very well. Seeing no more discussion, all in favor of the motion on the table, please raise your hand. There are 4 in favor, 5 in favor. Opposed?
Okay, Agden,
5 opposed.
Arlington, Dave Lexington. I'm not going to necessarily see you in order. Bolton is back way up there at the top. And Needham. And I'm too busy recording the vote, so I'm going to abstain. And Alice, were you a yes?
Susie, yes.
Okay.
5 opposed and abstentions. Raise your
All right.
hand.
Yes, I.
One
raised my hand on
abstention.
abstention. Okay, does anybody see an error relative to their own vote, or is your own vote recorded as you wished it to be?
We're gonna have to sit around the table after.
But that would actually make it easier.
It'll make things a lot easier.
Okay,
So we have to
so,
announce the
so the
percentages.
formula down here has, see, it says, if F21 is greater than F22, the motion passes. I mean,
All you
so
gotta
otherwise-
do is mention the 2%. Either
Yes.
2 or 3, break it down to
So,
sections.
but I'm showing them how it works, okay? So, no, it does not break down, it doesn't matter, it's the yes vote that we're talking about, it's not the value of the no vote. It's the total, it's the value of the yes vote in the procedure. Okay,
I'm
so,
just trying to think though for,
it's gonna be recorded.
well, but what is the recorder going to put down?
She's going to put down that the yes vote, the weighted yes vote was 27.03. I'm sorry, yes, total weighted yes vote, 27.03. And she's going to write down the towns. I don't think she needs to, because I think this is
And she needs to write down the number, either the no vote or the number you have to achieve. So you may want to put a number.
I would put down the number she has to achieve and the number that was.
The number you have to achieve is what, in this case?
39.52.
No, they shouldn't, because that's not a no vote. That's 50%, it's going to add. Remember that the total weighted votes yes is the total weighted votes yes. The other one is 50% of the total.
I think it might be
Threshold
easier if you
passage.
show the yes votes and the no slash
It's not the
abstention.
notes.
Oh,
I mean, I can do that, it's going to be subtraction.
I know what it is, but I'm just saying that for procedure, it may be better to see, show the
I
no
can
slash.
add
slash abstention.
no votes next week.
But don't be sorry, we're gonna get this, it's gonna take us a few months.
However,
Yeah.
please note that if I put one more line in here, I'm going to have to squish things, or it's not going to show on the screen.
Isn't there like those 40 headers that Microsoft Excel has on?
Yeah, I can, but then I can't, then every time I have to protect and unprotect or remove from the
Right.
sheet, I've lost it.
You need a bigger screen, yes.
I can shrink this.
Jeff, I understand the somewhat hesitation about the reliance on technology. I'm curious about the recording of the no's and the abstentions, unless Liz is also recording all of the towns that were there for the vote, even if she says, 27.03% of the yes, and XYZ were the no's, without knowing who all the yeses
Liz,
there, it's not a count.
when you get to that place in the minutes, you will know who's present and who's not present. If Liz records the towns of the people who said no and the towns of the people who abstained, then you have everything you need to recreate the vote.
But you'll have to record for every vote who was present, because some people leave the room.
That's the
Which we
recorder
did.
will
We
be
just said,
mentioned.
in the beginning, Carrie asked, was there any change in people who were there?
And you'll record that in the minutes?
She already does record
already
who
does.
leaves the room and comes back in.
You could also just do a screenshot.
Well, but that, then, that's.
He's trying to get around
insufficient.
relying on the computer's memory ability.
Where I got tripped up, Carrie, was,
He wants a totally
how
redundant
many,
system.
okay, so, how many you had to get to? What the percentage was that you needed to get 50% off?
Well, I think we're better off, instead of doing it that way, getting the percentage that was yes and the percentage that was not yes.
So, that's what I need.
Right, so the percentage that was yes was,
The percentage that was yes was 27.03. 39.52 is what 50% of the total
Yeah.
weighted vote in the room was.
Yeah.
So it fails.
And you're proposing to get rid of that 39.52 and just simply have the total yes and the total no and abstentions, and then by simply comparing those two percentages, you'll know whether or not you got a majority.
correct, that might be a little bit, either way, it doesn't bother me. I'm very, happy with numbers as in any form as you know, but I think that to the casual reader, that might be a better way to go.
So
But we
rather
can-
than adding it, just take out greater than 50% of weighted voting and just add.
Just add a little bit, no.
But we're not gonna have her mess around with that today.
Right.
So
No, no, no,
today
I
we're gonna
know.
leave it as it
Rather
is.
than having another
Okay,
field.
we said we would do it for two months
Yeah.
before we would come back and talk about changes.
Ms. Alice.
I actually like the 50% weight of voters to pass because it tells me what's going on, whereas the yes and no actually talking about it's,
Well, it'll tell you if the yes is greater than or not.
yes, but it doesn't,
Doesn't tell you how close you are.
yeah.
Well, yeah, well, we'll leave it like this, and we'll revisit it in 2 months.
Yes, also hold on to your camera, because I think that taking a screenshot of that is a good solution, because that doesn't require the power to be on or.
I've been working with computers since 1970, and I've seen yes.
That's the point.
Okay, one more practice vote. Mr. Horton, would you like to choose one more of those motions?
I hope so. I move that we introduce the abacus as a technology for use with all math classes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion of the abacus?
Are there any changes in attendance in the room?
Okay, now you shouldn't need to announce that.
No, I'm just asking. I'm asking.
I have like to move to amend the motion. Right. I think we should use counting sticks instead of the abacus. That is my amendment. Do I have a second to that amendment?
I'll second.
Uh-oh.
So I think that just counting sticks are just a lot more fun than an abacus, and that's why I think we should have counting sticks. Sharon.
I have another idea for the stick.
Make sure that is in the minutes, please. Thank you, Sharon. Always a pleasure.
She needs to kindle a fire, rubbing the sticks together.
Is there any further
If you
discussion?
want to move to Concord, you can stay on the school committee after I come off.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Very well, then bring it to a vote. First on the amendment. The amendment is to substitute counting sticks for the abacus, and then we'll go to the main motion. So on the motion to amend to use counting sticks instead, all in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6 in favor. Opposed? 4 opposed.
I have to hit return, then I can see it later. Lancaster. Stowe. And Bolton.
And abstentions?
Weston. Oh, that's right, thank you very much. That's, yep. And,
Weston was a yes. Any abstentions?
no, you noticed as soon as I said you were here, I assumed you were voting
It should be
Arlington was a no, was it
yes. Was
not?
there?
Arlington was a no.
Oh, and Acton was a yes.
Ah, okay. See?
There should be a letter.
Okay.
Is that better?
So we're back to the main motion.
Okay, so that passed, so we, no, it didn't
No, it
pass.
didn't pass.
So what were the
Sorry.
percentages?
Percentages were 37.35%
Required?
no voting yes, compared to 39.52% required to pass.
Okay, so that failed, so we're back to the main motion and abacuses. Any further discussion on the main motion? Seeing no further discussion, we move to the vote. All in favor of the motion of the table, please raise your hand in favor.
And
That's
Weston.
8 in favor. Opposed? 3 opposed. Keep your hands up.
Belmont. And Bolton.
and
We need to see the screen. more directly. Okay.
and abstentions.
That's 11 votes.
Okay.
0 abstentions. And the result?
46.99%, because it does say round to the nearest hundredth, compared to 39.52%, and the motion passes.
Both of those votes would have carried, before,
Way to go.
yeah, including the previous one, Jill, so.
Okay. Now, in the case of a unanimous vote, we don't have to go through this. Okay, so that's one exception. Now, this procedure is cumbersome, and we will review the results from this meeting and our next meeting, and then we're going to reevaluate whether we want to go to a fully automated system, if that will actually save us time or not, or whether you want to revisit the suggestion that I made, which would eliminate 90% of this.
Okay.
But you wouldn't have the, same amount of data immediately present. Okay. Liz, was that a problem
Yeah,
for
it's
you?
fine.
Okay, for you it's
Yeah,
fine.
good.
Okay, so those votes did not count. Now let's move on to the real stuff. Mr. Dillon,
Now,
finally.
I am going back to the initial attendance, by the way, because my real procedure says before the first vote is taken. So, before the first deal, oh, come on, I'm going to change it every time, but remind me every time.
Principal Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm seeking approval for 6 Minuteman students to travel to Indianapolis for the FFA National Convention, departing Minuteman Tuesday, October 18th, returning back to Minuteman Saturday, October 22nd. They'll be accompanied by 2 staff members here at Minuteman.
Discussion. Sharon.
What is FFA?
Future Founders of America.
Jack.
Jack, is the $9,000 in the FY17 budget, or is that the?
Yes, it is.
Further discussion? Seeking none, we move to vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, Superintendent's report, Dr. Bacone.
So we have an update on the district-wide ballot process. There's 2 handouts at your table under 5A. One of them is a motion. The other one is a letter from Belmont requesting consideration of the school committee approving the standard voting sites in Belmont. We also have had, or expect to have, similar requests from Arlington and perhaps Lexington. And Sudbury wants 2 places. So the motion was discussed with Attorney Kevin Bresnahan this afternoon, who had consulted with Rick Manley just about the process that we're in, because none of us have done this before, and none of the town clerks have been through this kind of a vote before. So we're trying to be very careful, cautious, conservative, and accommodating the town clerks. Kevin's been working closely with them. We can answer some questions about that. We have a meeting scheduled with all of them. They're all coming on July 26th, I believe, in the afternoon. We also have confirmation that a representative from the Office for Campaign and Elections is going to be here as well. Kevin Bresnahan will be here as well. So we hope to get all the T's crossed and I's dotted and questions answered. But in the meantime, the school committee, someone needs to make this motion and second it, and we can talk about it. The practical implications, which are not extensive.
I move to approve the form of warrant following the district-wide election pursuant to Mass General Law, Section 71, Section 16N on September 20, 2016, with such changes as may be made in the school committee offices.
So the changes to be made by the school committee officers simply refers to the articulating of the specific poll locations after consultation with the boards of selectmen. The boards of selectmen have not all weighed in yet, but the boards of selectmen met last night in Belmont, and they're requesting that we, as I mentioned, have the standard polling places. One of the things we're working through with them is an assessment of the costs of that. Speaking particularly about Belmont, the town clerk and the assistant town manager believe that having the polling at the standard places would be as expensive or less expensive than having one polling place. Because they have over 17,000 registered voters and they're used to going into certain places, it makes sense. So I have no objections to having multiple places as requested.
But Dr. McQuillan, we don't know yet the actual relative cost. I assume that we're going to find that out.
We're going to find that out very shortly. But our budget of $100,000, we're feeling a little concerned about it, but we're going to ameliorate those concerns by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. And once we know that we're in budget, we don't have any budget busters, then the officers could approve the final places. And then only 9 school committee members would have to come in and sign the warrant. We don't have to have a special school committee meeting. A simple majority has to sign it, and then that warrant gets printed on the ballots. So we pay.
Alice?
Can I ask general questions about them? Okay, so first question is, do we have to send overseas ballots or military time to expire?
They've discussed absentee ballots. I'm not sure about the military ballot question. Have we had that specific question?
Yes, your answer is correct in terms of our need to provide absentee ballots, whether or not those absentee ballots are then sent by the town clerks to military folks overseas, I think would be what they would follow under their protocol. What we're trying to do is we're trying to address the upfront costs that are similar and uniform to all of the member towns, such as the printing of the ballots, the printing of the absentee ballots, the programming of the machines. 15 of the 16 towns use the same 2 types of machines. So we've already contacted the company to do all the programming, we've contacted for printing of the ballot. So we're trying to relieve the clerks of a lot of the advertising and posting of the warrant. We can do that through all 16 local newspapers. So we're trying to relieve some of that burden of the clerks that have to do that. But once we provide those ballots, and once they're in their hands, they'll have to handle the absentee ballots, the posting in town hall, in preparation for the election itself.
Okay, I only ask because there's a long window for that. There are deadlines that are required by law, so I bring it up just to be helpful, so that we don't miss the deadline. And the second question I have is whether there is any explanatory language allowed on the ballot to describe this, because this is something that they have with their ballot. The confusion occurred that voters saw the big number and they thought their town was responsible for the whole thing.
There's a section of the law, is it 181 or something? You want to?
There's a section of the law, I can't quote the specific section, but I think it's a local option, and as I recall, only the town of Sudbury has adopted that. And I think that's something that we'll need to talk about when we meet with the clerks later in the month, as well as our attorney that's going to assist us in this process.
Just to remind the membership, you're having a meeting with all 16 clerks on July 26th.
Yes.
So they're all going to get together and hopefully some of these issues will be.
Along with legal counsel and the folks that from the voting machine company.
And you said that most of the towns use the same company for their voting machines.
Yeah, 15 of the 16 towns use two types of voting machines, and both those machines are serviced by the same company. So, so we can schedule and arrange for that, that program will take place. The one town that doesn't is Carlisle, they still do Cape
So Carrie?
I wanted to mention concerns about how much people understand of what we can say or not say in a ballot question. We're very limited as to what we can put in a ballot question. But I think that's one of the reasons that we are going with and we're urged to go with a special day for the election and not try to combine it with something else, is that this is the only thing people will be coming to the polls for at that moment. If they're coming to the election at all, they probably know something about why they're coming, pro or con, and are going to understand more about it than somebody coming in to vote at a state primary and all of a sudden here's this other question that shows up that they don't know anything about.
So,
Yes, I'm concerned about the cost escalation here. I just don't understand how having one polling place and 7 can cost about the same. So that may just be an education thing on my part. But if all the towns want more polling places, which they certainly might, I would start to question whether that makes any sense. I mean, our local elections turn out 14% of the vote, and I would expect this would turn out much less. So we are not talking about a lot of people, and the idea of having 7 polling stations in Belmont or in Arlington is, I don't see how it could cost the same, and I'm concerned about capping the cost for this.
We share that concern. We discussed this process initially with the legal counsel for the Division of Elections for the Secretary of State's office. And the suggestion came back to us from them that it might be appropriate that they have one polling place rather than setting up each precinct. And the reaction that we got from some of the clerks that have been very helpful in this process is that would probably be more efficient for them in conducting the election. However, so I was quite surprised when we got the reaction of 2 or 3 towns, 3 towns specifically, suggesting that it doesn't make sense and that having 8 polling places or 7 polling places would be
12
would be necessary.
12 of the 16 towns have already identified one polling
They
place.
have, yes.
So this isn't something that's going to go rampant across the district. And the long emails from some of the folks in Belmont, she explained why it would cost so much. And it was a very logical explanation without going into great detail. But where it would have to be held, it would have to be a very large space. The only space for that is the field house next to the high school, because the high school couldn't accommodate even a small percentage of turnout. There was also some discussion about they would still have to have voting machines that were representative of each of the precincts. So we would still have the costs associated with, someone checking in every, the same number of people we'd be paying. And then the police details, there were some concerns about that. I don't know if you've been to Belmont High School, but it's not an easy place to get around. So I believe we should support the request from Belmont, and if Arlington has a request, I think we should support it as well.
so
And I'm quite mystified as to why this would work for 12 of the towns, but somehow for Belmont, there's a big exception.
Belmont just has that many more people. It's just a population.
I don't think so. I mean, what is your population?
26,000.
Right, we're 45,000. We have 21 precincts.
And so I'm imagining Arlington would have the same request.
That's how the draft.
They've indicated preliminarily that they would prefer that, so. We just need to understand the costs.
Yep, okay, that's,
So they
we're on
need
the same
to,
page.
they need a little bit more legwork to do. It's a balance kind of between where the real cost is and how to make people happy. negotiate that. The numbers we came up to with the original cost of this were basically guesstimates, because it's not a procedure that's done very often when we vote simultaneously in 16 million towns. So there is a possibility we'll have to come back for a special meeting to add more money to the budget for this. Is a possibility. We just don't know that yet. So,
As would other people, I would really, I'm sure, I would really like to avoid that, and I think it sends the wrong message if we have to have an expensive vote for this building. It's just another black mark, so just want to register my concern, that's all.
any other questions on the motion on the table, which is to approve this ballot and leave it kind of up to the school committee officers to approve changes to the agenda?
I don't want to go into the specifics of Belmont. I think you covered it adequately. I mean, I haven't seen the letter, but I've, had conversations with the town clerk, and I think, those concerns, you expressed. Jeff, I'm a little bit leery personally of voting with these blanks in it, not from a procedural point of view, from our point of view, but if Arlington or Belmont or Lexington feel strongly about multiple locations, I'm a little bit uneasy of giving the school officers the ability, on behalf of all of us, by my affirmative vote before I know how that's resolved, of giving you the ability to say, nope, we're not going to let it happen. So I'm a little bit concerned about, personally, how I vote yes on this when there's still a concern for my town. I don't know what the outcome is, and giving carte blanche to people, however much I may respect their judgment and them as individuals, giving them carte blanche by voting in advance yes to approve that is a bit troubling to me.
Well, I understand that 100%. And the only reason we're doing that is not that we would want this responsibility, to avoid having to call for a special meeting, which is problematic in a lot of ways during the summer. So it's a practical detail. It's not, I do not want the authority to, be the decision maker on this if it gets to, kind of a close edge here. But we're taking on that responsibility because of the logistics of having a school committee meeting, and that we can have a day to get a quorum together on short notice, because we want to get this done as soon as possible to get the wheels of the process rolling, and everybody's away on vacation, so that's just it. You'll have to vote whichever way you want to. Believe me, you're not insulting me by voting on this, not in the least. Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I suggest that we amend a motion to say that providing that, you just said that you're inclined to just let the towns do what they want to do, more or less. So,
I wouldn't go that far. To be honest, I want to see what the number is before the price differential is between doing it one way and doing it another way before I say let's give them carte blanche. If it's not that big a number, then make them happy. If it's too big a number, then we got to rethink it. So I think that they need to do a little bit more legwork to understand the pricing a little bit better before we go there. So it's not a carte blanche. It's is it reasonable?
yeah. So can we say that assuming that whatever they propose works, the numbers work, that we would give the officers the carte blanche to approve it, and if there's any issues, if there's any contention, then they can meet.
I think that you can probably trust the officers to call a meeting if it goes
True,
over.
but I think it might help the adjustments on that.
Alice?
So I trust the officers to make this decision. I think it would be probably helpful to have limits so that it's not a greater number of polling places than it typically is in the towns that much. So in other words, Belmont typically has how many voting places? Seven, but not more than seven.
Nobody's asking for them.
No.
That just caps it, so you're not, there's no further nonsense. The other thing is that if they're using different count voting machines, they have to incorporate for each precinct, then it doesn't really matter whether they move the machine over here or they move it into the gym. They still have to move the machine and still have to have so many people calling for it, so it doesn't actually matter, and that's probably why it doesn't cost anything.
Police details. They we need fewer, and there may be fewer parking attendants, and there may be fewer people to open close buildings, so there may be some expenses that are
That's true.
duplicated. We just don't know the extent of it. That's just a thought in my mind. David?
Just quick information, is that that question came up about what was the unit price for each voting place or station. And as Kevin explained, that's the clerks would know, and that's the information we hope to get from the clerks. For instance, I know in Lexington, the people who work in the polls, they're paid $100 a day for working, but how many people are working, I don't know. And so we as a Minutemen cannot figure out that unit price. In fact, the unit price could change town by town. But when we get the total price and the unit price, we need to get that from the clerks, and that's what we're going to July. That came up at our office.
Well, Sharon, do you have a specific motion amendment that you'd like to make based upon your statement?
Well, I would just suggest that we say, assuming there are, barring any contradictions. Right.
How about barring any unreasonable costs?
Okay.
Just add that on to the end.
Yeah.
Would that be satisfactory, no, Jack?
I was going to support yours. If we can accommodate the preferences of the towns, then there is no contention.
Right.
The language that you suggested about reasonable cost leaves open who's deciding what's reasonable and still leaves the power to the officers to say that's not reasonable, therefore we're not going to accommodate the town. And that becomes problematic for me.
Jennifer?
Well, it's problematic for me to accommodate the towns if the price tag is excessive. So I think there's that conflict.
So could it?
So
could
Sharon
you
put an
assume-
amendment, is there a second to the amendment, and then we'll bring it to a vote?
Can you read it?
Yes. So the amendment is, there was a concern about costs here, the mesh would then read, motion to approve the form of warrant calling the district-wide election pursuant to MGL 71, section 16, and September 2016, with such changes as may be made by the school committee officers, barring any unreasonable costs.
Can I add to that, just rather than,
A friendly, go ahead.
well, just something like, to the best of our ability to accommodate the needs of the town, barring any excessive.
Yes.
To the best of our ability, accommodating, to accommodate what, the wishes or the preferences of the individual towns, barring any unreasonable costs. So is that a, do you consider that, Sharon, do you consider that a friendly addition to your amendment? Okay, so that would be the amendment, right? Second. Second. Now, Sue.
I would be very comfortable, since we've been talking about the $100,000 cost, I would like to say, to add a cap on this with some sort of plus or minus range, given that they'll have to make decisions. You know, I don't want to call a meeting for $10, but I would like to see a monetary cap.
Well, the monetary cap is $100,000 right now. Is it not?
That's what was transferred. The actual cost may not be known until after the election.
Right. That's
We'll have an estimate, but
And I need to say that we did quite a bit of research into what this would cost. We spoke to the other school systems that had been through this. One of them had 19 towns in Franklin County Tech. We also spoke with a couple of the representatives of the town clerks. They have like a regular group. So I think our estimate is probably pretty good. And we inflated it a little bit, knowing everything around here costs more, or ends up costing more, depending on who's voting on
So we have an amendment on the table that I believe was seconded. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we bring, you see, there's no breaks for you. Seeing none, we bring it to a vote. This is a vote for the amendment. Do I need to repeat the amendment? Does the recorder need to repeat the amendment again?
Yes, please.
Blah, blah, blah. To the best of their ability to accommodate purposes of the town, barring any unreasonable cost.
Okay, that is the amendment to the motion on the table. No further discussion. All in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in favor, opposed? No, not during a vote. Abstentions. 1 abstention. You can't during the vote, we cannot.
Oh, I've turned it off. Just a moment. And if you look at the screen,
So there's 1 abstention.
Thank you.
The final tally is,
The total is 73.37 versus a 39.52% reported. It passes.
okay, the motion
You can read on the
passes.
screen.
Alice?
Now that I turned on the screen.
The amendment didn't actually refer to precincts, it just is a blanket approval to do the change. So I don't know.
Okay, now I do have one more comment on this. In our last meeting, when we voted on the dates for school committee meetings, I said that we're going to vote those dates, but we're going to need a little bit of flexibility depending on how. Oh yeah, we need to vote the main motion. Sure. Any further discussion, main motion? Okay, well, then all in favor of the main motion, please raise your hand.
Wait a minute. It's going to take a minute to get this.
Oh, 1, 2, in favor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in favor. Opposed? Belmont?
Just a moment. Wait.
We need a faster computer.
And Belmont is,
Opposed? Abstentions? No abstentions. And the percentages are.
does that look correct to people? Okay. And 72.13% versus 39.52% required.
The 39 is just.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, so now we shouldn't. Okay, so, great. So it passes. So my comment again was that I'm going to, unless there's a major objection, we're going to have, regardless of which way this vote goes, we're going to have a lot of work to do right after. So I'd like to move our September meeting from the 13th to the 27th. With the proviso that if events unfold, we may have to call a special meeting sometime. Jack?
Not that I look for ways to meet during the week. If you think this is going to be a lot of work, why not just pencil in a second meeting on the 27th to deal with just the school vote and not have it cluttered with other routine business, because that's going to be 60 days. September's already 60 days from this meeting, so it could be a full meeting. Why not just have that 27th be a backup date if we need it for a second meeting?
Well, I know we definitely want to meet on the 27th, one way or the other, because we have to deal with the ramifications. So we could have the other meeting, but they'd be pretty close together, and I will call a meeting on the 13th. I'll be, will be, whoever is the officers are at that time, will be talking with the administration. And if it is necessary to call that meeting on the 13th, we certainly can do so. But I know, and it may be necessary depending on how events transpire, but I know for a fact we're going to want to meet on the 27th, for sure. So the way I look at it is, I think we should have the 13th penciled in case it's necessary, and have the formal school committee date on the 27th, since I know some things that I have to deal with quickly. To me, I'd have it on the 21st, but people said that that's not such a priority. It's the 25th, 21st, 12:01 a.m. People objected to that for some reason. Are there any other objections to making that change? So just pencil in the 13th as a maybe on your calendar, and the 27th is the yes. Thank you. B.
There's just some correspondence from MSBA at the back of your packet verifying their extension. That we all know about, that's all that is. In your, beginning on page 10, or 13, I'm sorry, the annual review process has been completed for Kevin Mahoney. I solicited some input from the FinCom school committee representatives in regards to his performance. I'm recommending a 2% increase for FY17. And I don't give out exemplary check marks very often. As a matter of fact, I've had some administrators come to me and ask, what do I need to do to get an exemplary check mark rather than proficient? And I'm just very pleased and honored to be working with Kevin. His management and operations performance, I think, has been exemplary from a district point of view. And I'd ask someone to make that motion.
Karen.
I'll absolutely make the motion. I also want to say, if you read through the package, you're going to find my comment was like 4 words long. It was because I had 48 hours to comment, and I was moving my father's stuff out of his apartment and into storage, or else it was going to cost me a fortune, because he was, anyway, long story with a 96-year-old dad. But what I would like to say is that I think that creating the position that Kevin holds and hiring him to fill that position is one of the most valuable, correct, useful decisions this committee has made in the entire time I've served. And thank you very much, Dan.
Now, would you actually like to make the motion?
I do.
So you move the motion as written.
Yes, I move it as written.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion on the table? Passes unanimously. And I will concur with everything Carrie and Lisa said.
Thank you very much, Mr. Committee, I really appreciate it.
Speaking of which, don't break your perfect record, just go through these things like blazing fast.
I certainly will, Mr. Chair. First item on the agenda is the bid results for electrical work. This is the electrical work associated with the new service that we will provide to the sewer pump station that's located out in the corner of Merritt Road and the access road. The results are on page 18 of your packet. We received 3 bids. The low bid did not respond to the entire scope of work. That's why the bid was so low. We awarded that bid to Blaze Electric. We're hoping that Eversource will install the pole early next week, and then Blaze Electrical will go in and run the service from the pole to the pump station. Then we can get rid of that gas generator that's not there servicing the pump station. The next item on the agenda is the bid results for the feasibility study renewal for bond anticipation notes. We solicited on June 24th bids to renew $120,000 worth of bond anticipation notes, and we made a principal payment of $60,000 as we're required to do when we exceed 2 years of renewals. The $60,000 was budgeted. The results were listed on page 1. The next item on the agenda, you'll find on page 23 and 24, is the proposed FY17 revolving funds budget. This budget was reviewed in detail at the last finance subcommittee meeting, and the analysis basically shows the results of the FY16 revolving funds and what we project our FY17 revolving funds to look like. The finance subcommittee voted to recommend that this be brought to a vote by the full school committee. We're asking that the committee vote to approve the proposed FY17 revolving funds as presented.
A motion to do so?
Yes.
Alex Belucher, seconded, and discussion.
Just a quick question about the middle school funds.
Yes.
Some of them are significantly less for FY '17 than they were '16. Is there a reduction in costs?
Yes, in some areas last year, we purchased some equipment for technology equipment.
Thank you.
Jack Weiss.
Those who read my evaluation of Kevin and the email I sent, I telegraphed this, but these are activities that are easy to fall off the table, but I didn't do the math, but it's about $2 million worth of budgeted activity. And when I first started on the school committee, it was just kind of off on the side. And so I think kudos to Kevin, not only, and fellow members of the Finance Committee, not only in making sure that we don't lose track of this by making sure that we budget it and approve it at the start of the fiscal year and then monitor it throughout the year. But also I think Kevin and the staff have done a great job of using this as a tool to look at the relative performance of each of those programs. And there were big deficits in lots of these programs that, A, in many cases weren't even known about, and B, when they were known about, it was that. And so now I think it's a really disciplined process, and I think that's really important. The one area that seems to be the biggest struggle is the child care group, but that's an important component of the educational program for that program, and it's a function of utilization being down. There's not much we can do about cost, so they're looking for ways to improve that. So I think from a process point of view, this is terrific. Substantively, I think it reflects some really commendable work on the part of the administration to have fiscal discipline around these ancillary activities.
Further discussion on the motion on the table? Bringing to the vote, all in favor of the motion on the table, please raise your hand. Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. The next item is item B, the update on the OPEB trust agreement. The Finance Subcommittee has been looking at various models on the investment and the administration and oversight of the OPEB trust account. The last two meetings, I believe, we've had some discussions, and committee's done a lot of work. And I tried to summarize the takeaway from our last meeting, where it would seem that there was consensus upon investing the funds now in a principal protected account. We have a total of $100,000 when you look at the FY16, the FY17 appropriations, and the suggestion was that we invest that in an MDT short-term bond portfolio account. So then at least we have the funds invested in the trust account established. There were a number of administrative suggestions as to who would be responsible for oversight. In some cases, we found that the retirement board would do so, primarily because one of the investment vehicles that's used by a number of cities and towns is the same investment vehicle that's used for retirement funds, the CRU fund. Sometimes the town or city treasurer would be responsible for oversight, or there'd be trustees. The update that I would like to just share with the committee was the consensus that we move forward, establish the account, continue to fund the account, and as the account grows, continue to look at the ideal model that may make sense as far as fulfilling the purpose of the account for the district. No votes required on that. I don't know if members of the Finance Subcommittee want to answer those comments or not. Thank you very much. The next item is referring to a memo that's on page 28 of your packet. However, after having a conversation with Matt Tobin, I've revised the action regarding the lease for the child care center. And at your table, you'll see a revised memo with two votes. What's required here is under the school committee policy, it's under the purview of the school committee to authorize leases for real property. So what we're looking to do is we're working on a transition plan with MIT Lincoln Lab, who's expressed an interest in being relieved of their, released from the lease as of August 31st rather than October 31st, as they're moving into a new building. And also, Tremont School, that was a successful bidder to occupy the building, has also expressed an interest to come in as soon as they can shortly after September 1st. So what these votes do is authorize the administration to enter into the lease, with Tremont to start their lease agreement early, and the second action is to authorize the superintendent to enter into a lease to amend the existing lease with MIT to release them from their term as of August 31st.
We'd like to make the first of these two motions. As written, very good. Do I have a second? Discussion. Individually, just in case. Sharon.
Can you remind me what population does Tremont School serve? High school is it?
It's a grade 5 through 12 private experiential type of learning.
Jen.
Just a small comment on the first motion. I'm assuming that in the second line, which would be October 31, 2017, it's a pretty tight window. It's November 1st, 2016, October 31st, 2016.
It should be 19, excuse me.
19,
Yes.
so it's a 3-year lease.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out.
I'm going to take that as part of the original motion. Further discussion. Jennifer.
I just was noticing that the Tremont building, the lease is in the rental property, in the revolving accounts. Is that number in there taken, because MIT pays more than Tremont is going to. Is that number taken into account
Yes,
two less
yes.
months?
Yes.
Thank you.
Alice.
I'm just glad to see that this is a organization that matches up with the mission of the school. That's one of the criteria that we had originally established in this, so I'm glad to see that that's the case.
Jack.
I'm fine with giving the superintendent the ability to negotiate the terms. One question, is there any kind of cancellation or termination option being given to Tremont or Envision that they can, after a year decide they no longer want it and be
There's a notification of termination by either party. That's standard in the leases that we've been using. I don't know, I forget if it's 6 months to a year or something.
I believe it's 6 months. There is standard language that we've had in the lease on that building.
And that's consistent with what you had.
Yes.
Seeing no further discussion, bring it to the vote. All in favor of the motion on the table? Passes unanimously. Who would like to make the second motion?
Second.
Okay. Moved as written and seconded. Discussion. Jeff?
The termination of Lincoln and the early start of Tremont, is there going to be a loss of income in doing that?
Yes, it's been accounted for in the budget.
Yes, it'd
The
be about,
revolving funds.
we're
That's what
estimating,
Jennifer was referring to.
yeah, we're estimating to be about 1.5 month loss of income. I think Tremont wants to start September 15th. We're going to need 2 weeks to go in there, clean paint, and do some plumbing.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't be looking for a termination fee from MIT as opposed to just letting them out for free?
We tried that for a long time, and this was the sort of the least cost, most direct route to accommodating a new tenant that matches our mission, and it's campus-centric within the framework that we had to work with. MIT can be a unique organization to deal with. And I think we tried our best. We ended up spending way too much money on lawyers trying to get that termination fee. And if I was to do it all again, I would just let them out, and we would have probably come out ahead with what we spent on lawyers.
Further discussion on the motion on the table? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion on the table? Passes unanimously.
Item F, Mr. Chair, was the placeholder in the event that we needed authorization for a lease to purchase the 2 school activity buses that I reported to the school committee a couple of months ago. The lease required an opinion of council, and talking with Matt Tobin, he initially wanted to verify that there wasn't an action required of the school committee. Given the deadline for the agenda, we put it as a placeholder, but Matt, after reviewing the policy, recognizes that the chief procurement officer can in fact enter into a free on this without any action. So I'd ask that the school committee take this.
Is that the end of your report?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Subcommittee reports, Alice DeLuca, Policy Subcommittee.
So you'll see on the table that there's a one-page document here that Lisa's created for us that gives us the history of the village.
Actually, there's no one.
No, excuse me, you can't see this. But if anybody would like to see it, we do have a record, a handy record of all votes that were taken. So if you go back in time, you remember that we were talking about administering medicine to students. It's on page 31 in the packet. So there was some discussion at the time related to the Narcan administration, and the only communication we've had from a member of the school committee, I believe, is Mariella Castano on this topic. She wanted to know if we were in compliance with the NISC requirement for recommendations. You all get those in the mail, the policy recommendations? Yes? Okay. Well, it's in the packet, but I wanted to know if you all get them in the mail. It's usually yellow. Okay. So, the first thing here is that we're going to propose for first reading JLCD, which is the actual NISC 2016 recommended policy. And you'll note if you look on page 31, under the section, the second paragraph, it says the school district may stock Narcan and train medical personnel, et cetera. So it's not they shall, it's they may. So it's just giving permission. And if you look on page 34, you'll see the legal words that it turns out is yellow when it comes to your house. So I'd like a motion to approve policy JLCD, administering medicines to students for first reading as presented. Is there a second? It's a second. I'm going to make one more comment about these policies. These are policies that really the school district, the school committee has to approve this type of policy, but it really is the purview of the school district administration to come up with stuff for us that is consistent with what they have to do according to all the laws that they have to follow. It's not really something the school committees can have a lot of expertise on. And Liz has been shepherding these things back and forth through the school district to get us this language and this agreement from the school district. I also want to point out that the MASC often says that by adopting their policies, which have been vetted by their attorney, Stephen Fenley, that we are in the company of all these other school districts, so we're not just out there on our own with our own policy. It's the same one that they're all adopting, so it actually gives us kind of a sort of safety factor. So is there any discussion on JLCD? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion on the table? Okay, that one's unanimous. Great, thank you. So that's first reading, and we'll come back again. Next one is EBBA. This one has been revised, and I wanted to explain that on page 32, the revised version is, you'll see all of the process. The paragraph that says leave this paragraph in, Amy was okay with leaving that paragraph out, but I thought that it offers, some protection to the staff when they take action, you know, to try to help a kid. There were incidents years ago where teachers had to sort of pay a price for taking action, and that's why these are in there, and I don't really see a reason to remove them. So, anyway, do we have a motion on EBA? This is first reading for accidents and illnesses. That's Jennifer, and a second from Sharon. Any discussion? Jack?
Two comments. I'm fine leaving that paragraph in. I think there is good Samaritan protection as a matter of law. Just really minor, I presume those headers, leave this paragraph in and cross-reference
Yes.
MIA are going to come out.
Yes.
That's just typos.
Any other comments? No, all in favor of the motion on the table? That's unanimous, thank you. So that one is first reading, and it'll be coming back. Okay, the last thing is there are two that we're just going to review and record that we've reviewed them. So we have IHA, I think that's on page 35. This is teaching about drugs, alcohol, tobacco, very simple one-sentence policy that just says we will provide instruction. There's no motion. Is there any comments on this policy? Jack?
Just a small question, Allison. I have no idea what the hieroglyphics of the numbering of these policies are, but I do know it's IHANA, and the legal reference that the relevant policy is IHANB. And so I didn't know whether or not our policy number is misnumbered
Our
or...
numbers were off, but it's the same policy.
Okay.
It's-
So this should be B.
I guess it should be B, yeah. We could leave it as a.
I mean, if we're changing it, we can make that change, right?
I think we can leave it to Liz to figure out which one it is. So they've gone to the 5 letters here, so.
It's the same policy.
Yes.
We only go through school.
Any other questions about this?
phone number.
So this has been reviewed, and we'll note at the bottom of the page where it says, you know, first reading, revision, original adoption, we'll just put a review date so that we don't have to revisit it again soon. And then flip the page over to 36. This is JICH, drug and alcohol use by students. So this is a review and record situation as well. And this is really just, you know, kids aren't supposed to have drugs on their person. So, any questions about this one?
You're looking for a motion to leave these two policies currently in the policy.
Yes, yes. Okay, any comments on that vote?
Small thing is the cross-references at IHA and AMB.
I think that's going
Also
to be up
B.
to Liz
Also
to
B.
decide.
There's nothing, she hasn't seen that to look at, but
There's an NSBA, it's actually the National School Board that does this voting.
yeah, I know.
All right, so that'll get fixed. Any further comments on this one? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion on the table? Okay, so that's unanimous. Also, and that's the end of that, thank you.
And that's the end of the policy report. Thank you very much, Alice. Secretary report, Dave Horton.
There will be an amendment to,
Liz has a question.
Excuse me, when you say unanimous vote, what is the percentage, Karen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
These are unanimous votes. What is the-
They're all unanimous.
is there-
75, I'm sorry, just no, 79.03.
79 for the.
David Horton.
there will be 2 amendments to the June 14th minutes, but I'll start by saying I move that the June 14th, 2016 intake school committee be accepted.
Second.
And I'll tell you what, if you look on page 39, I can tell you what the two changes are. Look at, on page 39, line 9. The language in the first sentence is you can cross out that first sentence. What it becomes is, the member from Concord noted that she understands concern for the time-consuming nature of roll call votes and understands the math behind the chair's proposal, but was skeptical as to how others might perceive it, as the actual weight of the vote taken would not be recorded. And also line 13, to amend it so that it reads, I'll start from the beginning of line 13, that she would be comfortable with a system that is clear and works efficiently. So those would be the two changes for that paragraph, lines 9 and 13.
I just didn't want it to go down in the record something like I didn't trust his math.
You can be skeptical about math all you want to. So would you like to do that as amendment, or just incorporate that in the original?
I can do it that way.
I think that's clarification.
And I have one more from another person. If you skip down to line 41 on that page, the date, the year within the parentheses should be 2016, so that reads July 12th to September 13th, 2016.
So just corrections, and we don't have to have the
Right.
amendment.
And there's one more on the next page, line 3. It was moved by Flood and seconded by Sue, but it should usually typically, it was pointed out we use last names for Sheffield. And seconded by, Brett is Sheffield, the lead Sue and secretary Sheffield.
So the motion on the table is to approve the minutes with those three changes.
Yes.
So all in favor of the motion on the table to approve the minutes? And this one would be... Yeah.
But you can leave.
10 in favor, opposed, 1 abstention. The abstention is from...
You can vote to approve minutes even if you weren't here. In this case, that's what you should. But you should. It's like a rule of necessity. But it is going to be awkward. Okay. So, Bolton is here, but an abstention. The yes vote is 74.64% out of the required 79.03%. Yay! 74 what? 64. Oh, yeah, 74.64.
And there's one other set of minutes, June 27, 2016. I move that the minutes of the special school committee meeting on June 27, 2016 be approved. And I did not receive any comments from that.
Is there a second?
Okay. Paul, Sharon, are you leaving?
Don't leave yet.
I'm leaving.
Just
Wasn't here
wait.
for that meeting.
Right.
Leaving on purpose.
So just
So it'll
note,
be unanimous, but you don't have to abstain.
right,
Okay, all in favor?
Beauty.
But so Lincoln is leaving the room, so I changed that to a vote.
That's the day.
it's unanimous.
So it's unanimous. No, Weston.
He's away from the table.
Well,
No, it has to be out of the
no,
Weston abstains.
Weston abstains.
All right.
He wasn't here, so he doesn't know that he has to leave the room.
That's right. Okay.
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I changed the wrong name. So he's here and he abstains. And 71.58% out of 37.58%. 75.16% present. All right. And the next.
Reorganization of officers, I move that we allow the superintendent to proceed for the nomination of the chair.
So that
Any
is
discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table? It is unanimous.
And wait, who's, Weston is in the room and Lincoln's not there.
So I open the floor to nominations for chair of the school committee of the Minuteman Regional Vocational School District for the year 2016-17. Ms. Galupa.
I would like to recommend Stulen as the chair.
Is there a second or any other nominations? Any other nominations for chair? Hearing none, nominations are closed. So you may all vote on your nomination. All in favor of Jeff Stulen, signify by raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Carries. Welcome, Mr. Chair. Congratulations. You may have the gavel back.
Thanks. Very good. I'm going to open the table for nominations for the vice chair. I'm actually going to make a nomination. I'm going to nominate Carrie Flood for vice chair. Any further nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, move to the vote. All in favor of Carrie Flood as vice chair, please raise your hand. Thank you. That is a unanimous vote.
And Lincoln is still out of the room. Yes, thank you.
I'm going to open the nominations for secretary, and I'm also going to nominate Mr. David Horton, who has agreed to do once again. Are there any other nominations for secretary? Very well, then, all in favor of the motion to table for David Horton? Thank you. It passes unanimously. Thank you once again.
Let's tell Shannon when she comes back that she's vice chair.
After the stick, right? Until he's chair. That's all it's
I just have,
We wanted her to go out, you know, feeling good about her.
Voting your vice chair.
Go for chair.
Do I need to record a vote on adjournment? I think
no, before we adjourn, I do have two quick comments. The first comment is thank you once again for your vote and support for me as chair and for these fine officers for the school committee. Let me also mention that by the bylaws and by desire, this is my last year as chairperson. The bylaw says you can only be an officer for 5 years or more, and you have to take a break. And I think that these other officers may possibly be getting a little bit leery of the hours required to do this. Let me also mention that there are going to be the most dramatic changes in how this school committee is run over this year than since I arrived here in 1999. And the two, one of I know for sure, and the other I'm hoping for. One that I'm hoping for is that we will be in the process of building a new building, which has a very distinct, different flavor than fighting the battle over more than a decade to get to this point to build a new building. That's going to make the position of an officer a lot more pleasant than it has been in the past. Yes. And also, when we go to a smaller school committee, it's also going to be a much, I think, a less time-consuming job. So the members here who are going to be continuing with us after next July have to think about what they want the school committee to look like after these changes occur. So I will assist us as we reach that point. I'm going to be giving this as a major thought through the upcoming year. And we're going to talk about it extensively. And that's really all I have to say, is that things are going to be changing a year from now. And I think it's for the better. Mr. Horton.
I just wanted to say, Jeff mentioned that we might be getting weary of the job. I would not say that's true for me. And when I see the way Jeff acts and Carrie does it, that it may not be true for them too. But next year will be my 9th year on the school committee. I know there's some people who serve longer, but I don't expect to accept a re-up for everyone, accept reappointment or request reappointment. So the secretary job will definitely be open to a new person at the end of next year.
All available at the same time.
Karen.
But anyway, next year, as Jeff said, is I hope that what he does, that we're working on a new school, building a new school, and that would be a fantastic end to it, and that is this wonderful school.
Carrie, you had a comment.
In my town, Concord has a very strong tradition of 2 3-year terms. It's not a bylaw, but it's a very strong tradition, and it keeps new energy and new voices coming into standing committees, and takes advantage of the experience on one committee as that person may take a year off and then move on to a different topic with a different group of people and a different group of constituents people care about it. It's been very effective for us. Now, when I first came on here, I was filling an unexpired term. I'm now at 5 years, and I had to decide whether I would accept reappointment of a total 5 years. And I said I would, but without a promise to stay for a full 3-year term. Right now, I'm thinking do 2 years, which means all of the one that we're just starting and one more after this. For many of the same reasons, I would love to be on this committee in its new format with a new building going on around us and see the results of the work, which has been substantial over these last years. Whether I would then agree to do another year after that depends largely on what is going on in my personal and professional life at that point. But I'm saying that to say, please don't rely on me to be chair next year when Jeff can't be. It might work out, but I hesitate to accept it if it were only for 1 year. So yes, be thinking about who and what roles people might want to play.
We'll talk extensively about this starting in like the January timeframe. So, nobody will be left high and dry or not knowing anything about any of these positions or whatnot. There'll be plenty of time for the people who are to develop an interest and to become involved, so it'll be a smooth transition. So I promise. I know what I'm saying. I've done this before.
You're going to develop it.
Oh, me? No, right. I'm going to help others develop. Yes. But by the time I'm done with you, you will be so interested. Believe me, I'm going to be working on it starting around January. Okay? Very good. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So,
This one better be unanimous, okay? All in favor? Yes, it's unanimous. Thank you. See you in September, possibly earlier, but I hope, well, a few of you.